Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sammy Ketchum, and welcome back to Sammy Ketchum TCG. Today, we are going to be taking a look at a new Shrouded Fable deck profile. Alright, we're going to be doing one on Okidogi EX. Alright, this set is to release on August 2nd, but this won't be Premier Tournament legal until the weekend of the World Championships. But today we're going to talk about this deck. But before we get into that, I just want to tell you guys that you're going to hear my sound cut out from time to time. So that's why I'm kind of talking a little bit louder. My sound is going to cut out because I'm in the process of hopefully getting a new phone so that I can, do better videos in the future because my sound is crap right now. I just want to let you guys know that before we get into it, and then you hear my voice and you hear me like cut out and cut back in, so I didn't want you guys to to worry about it or think something was up. It's just like that. Also, I'm wearing my Gengar stuff, for this video. Gengar is also a poison type Pokemon, and it's fitting because this deck is dealing with poison, and in the TCG, Gengar is also dark in the TCG, so it's kind of fitting, But let's jump into this and let's talk about this fun deck. All right. Here is the main star of the show. All right. Okidogi EX. All right. It has 250 HP. That is insane. Okidogi EX is the highest basic EX Pokemon that we have right now. I think. Actually, no, he's not. He's the second highest. Ursaluna EX is higher by 10, which is 260. So this is 250. So this is right under that. Still pretty hefty. Probably because of all that mochi he eats. But 250 HP. Its first attack lets you search your deck for 2 dark energies, and you can attach them to Okidogi. Alright. Shuffle your deck afterwards, of course. But he can accelerate to himself. You really don't want to use that attack because he'll probably get knocked out on the next turn or something. His second attack is what we want to look at here. Let's put these down. The second attack for 2 dark and a colorless. All right, it does 130 damage. If he himself becomes poisoned somehow, which this deck does, if he becomes poisoned, he does 130 more damage. So if he's poisoned, he can do up to 260 damage, which is very, very good. All right. And then when we get to the cards, we're going to talk about more of the damage buffs and things that actually make him jump up to 330. Or he can jump up to 330 if need be. So when we get to those cards, we're going to talk about it and tie them all together, because he can hit very high numbers. He can even hit Charizard. Charizard EX numbers. Right, so we're gonna talk about that, a little later. But Okidogi EX, fantastic card, and honestly, this deck is the poster deck for the set of Shrouded Fable. It's the poster deck. 2 copies of Petrant EX. He's literally the poster Pokemon for the set. Alright. It has 190 HP. Alright. So a little on the low end. Alright. Its ability lets you switch out your active Pokemon for one of your Dark Bench Pokemon, but the new Dark Bench Pokemon is poison. So this works very good. This works very good with the Okidogi EX, where it can switch into the Okidogi and poison him. If he becomes poisoned, he does more damage. So this works. They work together. I mean, it's the package. Its attack does 60 damage times the amount of prizes your opponent has taken. So this could become a decent late game attacker. They take 4 prizes, you're doing 240 damage. 5 prizes, 300, etc. So, I really like it. 1 copy of Pheasantipity EX, Pheasantipity Doodah. Alright, it has 210 HP. Its ability lets you, if your Pokemon got knocked out during the last turn, knocked out by like damage, then you can during your turn you can draw up to 3 cards. Just draw 3 cards in your hand. You can put 3 cards from your deck into your hand. Draw up to 3 cards. That's up to 3 cards. 3 cards. 3 cards. Right. His attack is okay. It's not shabby either. For 3 colorless energies, you can do 100 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So it doesn't have to be your active. So you can sit there and do 100 damage to the bench. You can either knock out something like a little baby Pokemon on the bench, or you can set up damage for later with the Pheasantipity. But, we're really not going to use that attack. We're really just using its ability. 2 copies of the Brute Bonnet. This is part of the combo. Brute Bonnet, we're really going to use its ability. What's the name of this ability? Oh, Toxic Powder. Okay, Toxic Powder. Can't believe I didn't know this till now. Alright, but its ability lets you, if you have a Pokemon tool attached to him. Is it a Pokemon tool? Oh, no, not just a Pokemon tool, an ancient booster capsule. It has to be the ancient booster capsule. It has to be the ancient booster capsule. If he has the ancient booster capsule attached to him, this Pokemon, you can poison both active Pokemon. So this also works with Okidogi, where you can sit there, have the ancient booster capsule attached to him, poison both active Pokemon. So he gets poisoned, which means he does more damage, and your opponent also gets poisoned, which means between turns they'll take a damage counter. They'll take a poison counter. So this is part of the combo of how he can get up to 330. So that's 260, 270 with the poison counter. All right. One copy of the Petrant, the promo from the ETBs, and I think it comes in like a little blister pack or something. But there were no proxies for this card. There were no proxies for this card because they don't have this card in Japan. But what this card does is its ability lets you put 5 more damage counters on your opponent's poison Pokemon in between turns or doing Pokemon checkup. That's what its ability does. And then its attack does 10 damage, and then it also poisons your opponent's Pokemon. But, you know, there's ways that you could sit there and you can go Brute Bonnet, use Brute Bonnet to poison both active Pokemon. So that's the way you can poison them. And in between turns, since he's poisoned, instead of him taking one damage counter for the poison, you put 5 more on him. So that's 6 damage counters on him. All right. And then you have the Radiant Sneasler, which can also, if on the bench, between turns, put two more counters on the poison Pokemon. So that's now 8 damage counters. And then, you know, if you had the Stadium Perilous Jungle, you could put even more damage counters on the opponent's Pokemon. Up to 100 damage if you want to. Now, to tell you the truth, I'm not doing that combo in this deck. If I can at least get 80 off, maybe. But this isn't in here for that first turn combo. This is just in here as maybe like a little one prizer that maybe can do some damage. You know, I could just send it out so they won't win the prize trade against me. You know, so that's the only reason I kind of have them in here. You know, but yeah, this card isn't out yet. It's not even in Japan. This may not even be legal for the World Championships. So honestly, we could cut this for something. So we might cut it for something. But of course, the next card we're talking about is the Radiant Sneasler, and it's in here for its ability. All right, and like I said before, its ability lets you put 2 more counters on your opponent's poison Pokemon between Pokemon checkup or between turns. You know, and this is how we're going to get to 330. You know, this is how we're going to get to 330 with Okidogi. A 2/2 line of Bibarel. All right. I went with Bibarel in this deck because when I first put this deck together, I tried the Crobat from Shrouded Fable that says if you play Janine's Secret Technique during this turn, you draw up to 8 cards. And I was trying that out, and I could never get the Crobat out when I wanted to, or I couldn't get it out, you know, early enough or decent enough to where when I used the Janine, I could draw up to 8 cards afterwards. So like, the Crobat wasn't working, but I wanted the same type of effect as Crobat because I wanted to draw cards, you know, after using Janine, because this deck really has no draw power. this deck has no draw power at all. So the barrel fits that purpose, and I'm not locked in to playing Janine's Secret Technique every single turn so that I could draw cards. I can now, you know, play Boss, or I could play Arvin, or I could play Iono, and then afterwards I could still draw up to 5 cards and still have decent draw power to get like the other pieces of my combos. So Barrel is a godsend right now in this deck, and it is really, really making this deck come alive, making this deck playable. Also, all of the early lists that I've seen from Japan and elsewhere, they don't have Barrel in it. They don't have this in it. This is something that I'm doing. This is something that I came up with, you know. So this is like my own deck after testing, after playing, after tweaking everything. This is what I've came up with. One copy is Squawkabilly. It's in there for its ability. We all know what Squawkabilly does. Discard your hand, drop 6 cards. This is great for your first turn. To get you started, to get more of your pieces, to get your energies, everything out. This is really good with this deck because you can discard dark energies early on, put them in the discard pile, and then get them back with the dark patch, you know, which is great energy acceleration for this deck. So Squawkabilly is actually really good in the early game. Not just early game, your first turn, but it just helps you get started. Three copies of Janine's Secret Technique. This is the best supporter for this deck. What this card does is that you can search your deck for up to 2 dark energies and attach them to 2 of your Pokemon. But if you attached one to your active Pokemon, that Pokemon is now poisoned. So this is another way you can poison Okidogi. You poison Okidogi, he's doing 260 damage, right? So part of the combo. All right. So yes, you're poisoning your own Pokemon, but you get power. You know, and I think that is fun. So this is energy acceleration on a supporter on a stick. Very, very good card for this deck. Copies of Iono. Copies of Arvin. I chose to go with Arvin in this deck because you can also get a Pokemon tool in this deck. You have a decent amount of Pokemon tools in this deck that you want to find. You've got the Mochi, and you've got the Ancient Booster Capsule. They're very important. Also to find your items, to find your Nest Balls, Ultra Balls, etc. So Arvin, I still think is very good. So I got 2 copies in here. 3 copies of Boss's Orders. All right. 4 copies of Nest Ball. Most of my Pokemon in this deck are most of my Pokemon in this deck are basics, except for Bibero. So this will help you find just about everything. Four copies of Dark Patch. Get an energy back from your discard pile, attached to one of your bench Pokemon. Very good. 3 copies of the Mochi. Mochi, 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 Mochi. Oh yeah. 3 copies of the Mochi. What this card does is that if your active Pokemon, if the card this is attached to is poisoned, this makes your attacks do 40 more damage. So this works with Okidogi so that you could do 300 damage instead of 260. So he gets poisoned, he's doing 260 plus 40, plus 40 from this. So that's 300. So now you're doing 300 damage. You're almost to Charizard range. You're almost to Charizard range. But then you've got Brute Bonnet and you've got Radiant Sneasler. Brute Bonnet poisons both active Pokemon. So you're going to take one between turns for the poison. Then the Radiant Sneasler comes in and puts 2 more damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon between Pokemon checkup. So that's 3 damage counters. 300 plus 3 is 330. Now you hit Charizard. Now you hit Zard. Charizard is going to be the best deck in the format come the World's format. So you want to be knocking out. You want to be knocking out the Zards. You want to be able to hit the best deck in the format. So I think that is just great. It's bonkers. It's nuts. It's amazing. That this is why I'm considering this deck. Because Zard is going to be everywhere. And if Zard is going to be everywhere, I want to be playing something that could just KO it like that. 3 copies of Trekking Shoes. We all know what Trekking Shoes does. Three copies of Ultra Ball. Copies of Energy Switch. When you use Janine's secret technique, you can also Energy Switch a card off of one of your Pokemon onto another one of your Pokemon. That can help you out. You know, help you get attacks off. Copy of Super Rod. Copy of Heavy Ball. Hisuian Heavy Ball. Prime Catcher. Prime Catcher is the ace pick that I chose. I could have went with like Secret Box, but I didn't want. I tried Secret Box out, and every time I tried Secret Box out, it just wasn't working for me. I was discarding a lot of cards in my hand just for maybe 1 or 2 cards from my deck. You know, and I just didn't like that. Catcher is a lot better. You know, it gives me a better gusting option. Gives me more gusting options, which this deck actually needs. So, can't go wrong with the Catcher. Two copies of the Ancient Booster Capsule. This is for your Brute Bonnet. Basically, we got 2 in here. So, if they lost Vacuum 1, you got a backup. That's the reason for 2. 1 copy of Town Store to find your tools when you need it. To find your Ancient Booster Capsules and your Mochis. Right? And then 10 Darkness Energies. 10 Darkness Energies for your Pokemon. Alright? So, that is the deck, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, I really, really like this deck. This deck is fun. It can hit hard. It can hit fast. And it can hit Zard. Zard, Dragapult, anything that's like 260 and up, this thing can hit. And that's why I really, really like this deck. And it's fun. And it's the poster deck. it's the poster deck. You know what I'm saying? Like, how fun is it to go to a tournament and actually play the poster deck and it actually be really good? You know, how many times has that happened? So, um, I really, really think we've got something here. I highly consider people trying this out for the World Championships. Um, I will be doing a like a full layout of the deck to show you all of the cards in the deck, so you can see, you know, exactly how many, like the counts and everything. But I'll do that, you know, in a second. All right, guys. Let me get this straight here. All right. This is the layout. All right. You know, it's all organized and pretty for you guys. You can see the counts of everything. All right. But this is it. Um, you guys can give this a try and try it out. Yeah, take it to the World Championships. See if you can win worlds with it. See if it actually beats Zard. Well, that's what I've been doing. I've been testing it out. And so far, this has been doing really, really well for me. I like the barrel in the deck. The barrel is very good. The Brute Bonnet and the Radiant Sneasler combo is great. Okidogi is great. You can get that off, you know, get that off pretty often, pretty great. Its attacks are great. Petrant, the switching ability on Petrant is great. You can also win against stall with the Petrant because you could just switch in your attackers. The Pheasantipity is pretty decent. You know, the draw 3 cards after your Pokemon gets knocked out. But yeah, this deck is great. You know, try it out. All right. All right, guys, that is the video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, make sure you take care of yourself and each other. Thank you.